Is this the most influential Ford Motorsport engineer of all time? I'm having a game of golf today. I met up with John in Eifel Rally in Germany. I've invited him and his wife Bea to come and have a game at the Rolls of Monmouth Golf Club, but I couldn't help myself but have a chat with John about his incredible career and what he has brought Ford Motor Company from a motorsport vehicle perspective is unparalleled really on the scale of Ford's rallying career anyway. John, originally, tell me if I've got this wrong, but you started off as an engineer in Porsche initially, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. I was eight years for Porsche. No, I was lucky enough to get into Porsche as a student doing a sandwich course, so I was there for 3 partial years as a student, and then they took me on full time, and then after that in the 70s I worked full time for Porsche as an engineer in the days when being an engineer at Porsche really meant something, because I was involved in everything.
That's brilliant.
Which these days in car engineering is not the case, you know.
You just take bits and pieces and run with it.
So very, very lucky.
But then in the 1980s you went to Ford Motor Company.
Yeah, 1980, yeah.
And you started with the RS1700T. Tell us about the RS1700T, John, because it was almost stillborn, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, that was a project where the company needed a motorsport successor to the incredibly successful Mark II Escort. And the Fiesta was obviously front-wheel drive. The new Escort coming along was front-wheel drive, and we did a lot of rally development and testing with front-wheel drive cars, and found that there was a certain amount of success that one could have, but decided that would not be suitable for World Rally Championship.
Right, okay.
So then the decision came to develop the rear-wheel drive car, and this was before Audi had started their enormous success.
The Audi Quattro.
Yes. During the time when we embarked on the rear-wheel drive version of the Escort, which was the RS1700T, midway through the project, we found that we had an incredibly competitive and powerful rear-wheel drive car with a lot of tremendous benefits for tarmac rallying and good performance on off-road rallying as well, but we saw the writing was on the wall as far as four-wheel drive is concerned. So we then embarked on a four-wheel drive concept conversion of that, together with FF developments and some discussions with Lotus and putting that into production. But ultimately, Stuart Turner then decided that he wanted a purist rally car, sports car, without the Escort identity. And that was when we then switched the whole focus from the RS1700T to the RS200.
Because in reality, when you look at Audi Quattro, it looks like an Audi Quattro. You look at a Peugeot T16, it looks like a 205. You look at a Lancia Delta S4, it looks like a Lancia Delta. But the Ford was completely standalone.
Yes, that was the thinking. We wanted to have a sports car. I mean, a number of essential ingredients: a good commanding seating position and screen angle. In other words, not a car where you're sitting low down like a Stratos, lying down, difficult to control the car from those positions. And we found that, and we wanted to have a car that could take over a number of key components from a high production car. And in that time, the Sierra provided exactly that. So we adopted the Sierra screen angle, Sierra screen, the Sierra, what's called the tumble home, the side angle, the door, the sort of door shape. Yeah. And the rest of it was completely unique. So it was a totally unique car. But we could carry over some elements of windscreen wipers, door winders, all these sort of bits and pieces you need for a car. That all came from the Sierra.
I mean, it was a major championship at that time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Ford didn't necessarily delve in to a full program at that time, did they?
Well, no. The problem was that we'd committed to a production car that was quite advanced in comparison to the other rally production cars. And then at that time, the evolution possibility came along from the FIA, meaning that you could do substantial changes and only had to build 200 of those to that spec.
Yes.
So that's what Peugeot did, that's what Lancia did. But we had a fairly advanced base concept with all the four-wheel drive, all the magnesium castings, and so we decided that we would go into Group B rallying with the base car and the changes that are allowed within the variant options of, gear ratios and brakes and things like that.
Yes, yeah.
But to wait another season before we did the evolution. Effectively, Ford was a bit late in the game with all of this, in only being ready to start 1986 with a base car, not an evolution car. But we were still confident that we could be fairly competitive during that year. And then the sort of evolution version, the ongoing version of that was to come then the following year. And that was...
By which time?
Effectively the thing that never happened because of the regulation changes.
Yeah, and Group B came to a sudden end.
Yeah.
And of course then, keeping Ford involved in rallying at that time must have been difficult, having committed all this time and effort into a Group B car. But that you did by bringing out the Sierra RS Cosworth. Was that right at that time?
Well, then we were faced with Group A. What did we have for Group A? We already had the Group A Sierra, and you have to put that into two categories because the Sierra Cosworth was also a motorsport project, 5,000 off for Group A, to give the basis for doing the RS500 for racing.
Right, yeah.
Where you only need 500 cars. So Ford had already committed to that in the Group A world, to have the 5,000 off Group A car and then the 500 off Group A race car.
Okay.
But that meant we only had rear-wheel drive Sierra, had a car with great engine, maybe slightly too large, the Sierra, but fantastic engine, but only rear-wheel drive. And also we had the four-wheel drive Sierra with the V6 engine. The problem with the V6 engine was that it was only good for about 210 horsepower, no more.
Right, yeah.
So we decided that middle of 1986 that we would develop both for Group A and maybe use the four-wheel drive for some events and the two-wheel drive for other events. And that's what we actually did in 1987. So on the Monte Carlo 1987, we entered two cars, Kalle Grundle in the rear-wheel drive car, Stig Blomqvist in the four-wheel drive car with no power.
Right. Hoping for some snow and ice.
Yes, and there was a lot of snow and ice, and the car did pretty well. But then the four-wheel drive Sierra Cosworth, Sierra never really had any great career. We entered two of those on the Swedish rally, the four-wheel drive. Thereafter, it was making the most out of the rear-wheel drive Sierra with its good Cosworth engine.
Yeah.
Until such time as we got the next production level, which would be the four-wheel drive with the Cosworth engine, which came, I think, 1989.
Right, okay, yeah.
So difficult times in remaining competitive.
So when I joined Ford Motor Company for the first time, that was with Malcolm Wilson in 1990 with Borum. Mm-hmm. But then we were in the Sierra Sapphire Cosworth, which is the Cosworth engine four-wheel drive, isn't it?
Yep.
You were never involved in that project then, were you, engineering-wise?
Yes, but 1989 we decided to do the Escort Cosworth.
Right, okay.
And I conceived the Escort Cosworth, I was responsible for the production and the rally version.
Right.
So I was not around on the rally scene much because I was engineering the production version of the Escort Cosworth.
Mm-hmm.
So I was spending a lot of time in Germany with Carmen, where we were building the production cars, and Philip Dunabin then looked after the rally program.
Yeah.
So I was on some of the events, but not very many at that time. So that was why our paths didn't cross
That much.
too much at that time. Yeah.
I always remember partway through the 1991 Monte Carlo rally, and you turned up in Digne-les-Bains with the red prototype Escort Cosworth. And I mean, it looked so much nicer than this great big saloon car that we were rallying at that time. And, you know, you could see that it was destined to be a successful car, and successful it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think out of all of your rally car builds and designs, the Escort Cosworth was probably your most successful, wasn't it, from a winning perspective?
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, not only on the World Championship stage, but also, you know, across all different territories, different parts of the world. Yeah, that was a very successful. I don't know how many rally cars existed, but it must have been quite a large number.
I would have thought so.
Yeah.
I mean, a tremendous legacy, like I said, in designing all these cars and being involved in it all, John. I mean, you've got to be very proud of what you achieved there. But really, after the Escort Cosworth, you went more into road cars then, worked for Aston Martin for a couple of years, and then Focus RS road car development.
Yes.
And then, of course, retirement and golf came to the fore then after all of that, which isn't a bad thing, and that's why we're here today. So,
golf and my RS200, my
of course,
RS200.
yeah, which we did see, and you know, in Eiffel Rally, and yeah, what a wonderful thing that is too.
Which effectively is the evolution car that never happened.
Right. Okay.
Where I had a really good chat with Stuart Turner and convinced him that it would be a good idea to build the one prototype and then see if there was a possibility to build more in the future. So that was a private project and not carried out at Boreham.
Right. Okay.
And yes, provided a huge amount of fun for me over the years.
I could imagine. Put you on the spot. Last question. Group 4, Group B, Group A, WRC, or the current Rally 1 cars? Mm-hmm. What's your personal choice of your favourite era of the World Rally Championship amongst that lot?
Oh, I mean, I think I have to say Group B, clearly. Although the Group B was a bit short-lived as far as rallying was concerned. Obviously, we had a couple of years of development and testing, and but only 1 year of rallying, and then the cars mostly went over to rallycross. Carlos Sainz had RS200 in Spain, but mostly rallycross. So it was a bit short-lived.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, from my point of view, with the excitement of having the privilege of being able to conceive a completely new car, I mean, that's something that almost never happens in the industry, that somebody has the possibility to do that. So that was the big thrill. But of course, the Escort Cosworth was also a very good time.
Yeah.
That again was an opportunity that only comes up once in a blue moon, I think.
Yeah, sure.
To build a car like that.
So you've had 2 opportunities in your working career to do that.
Yes. Yes.
Must be very lucky.
Yeah.
You must be. A lot of other engineers must be really envious of you, John.
Yeah, maybe. No, I've been very fortunate.
No.
Yeah,
John, thank you.
My pleasure.
Let's go and have a game
On
of
to
golf.
golf.
Yes, exactly.